Have you ever thought about retirement?
Thought about it?
Yeah.
Yes, because I put into my pension quite a bit.
I mean, we got a long ways to go to get there.
The sooner you start, the sooner you can quit. So that's really the best advice, right? Start soon, end soon.
Started doing my 401k with my job years ago when I first started.
Like, I'm so young, I'm not even really thinking about that right now.
Hopefully I'll make the right decisions to get there. Yeah.
Sure, yeah, I got some. Work-wise, 401k, couple Roth IRA.
Do you think you could become a millionaire?
Probably not, no.
Sure. It's called the lottery. Yeah. The American dream, right?
Every day I think that. I'm just waiting for it to happen.
I guess. Maybe.
I'm a millennial, so most millennials have given up on the thought of becoming millionaires.
Possible, if I don't pay that much taxes, but you know, we're all gonna pay, what, 40% of it, so, but we'll see, hopefully.
I think anybody could if you put enough money away and just kind of stack it for the time. I mean, time and basic math.
Yeah.
Yes, everybody can.
Why do you say that?
It's in your mind.
What does it take?
Well, I'm a teacher, so there's really no concept of a millionaire in my mind. Like, what is that? Not attainable at all.
I think it takes a little bit of savings, takes a little bit of goals and dreams, a little hard work for sure.
You know, you just gotta work for what you want. You can be a self-made millionaire. You don't have to be somebody else's money.
Takes a strong work ethic, a little bit of luck, and investing wisely.
You have to obviously work and have some knowledge of how to invest your money and where to invest your money and how to budget your money. Clearly not me.
Put money away. At least 10%, 20% out of your check. Put it in 401k, 57, save the money. Don't touch it. And by the time you get old, you're gonna have $1 million.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I decided I needed to start to get healthier. So I started eating a lot of salads, okay? First and foremost, salads are a promissory note. Salads are supposed to come with the food. They're not the food. You follow me, okay? And so I started doing this. So as you can imagine, you lose some weight and clothes can start to get baggy. So my stylist said, and people on the team said, Hogan, you need to get some smaller jeans. Your jeans are looking a little baggy. And somebody made the comment that I look like MC Hammer. Made me mad. So I went online and quickly ordered something. And you know, have you ever ordered something and not really paid much attention? Raise your hand if you've been there. Okay, so I ordered some jeans. Now let me show you what arrived. Okay? I ordered quick, people. This is what showed up. Hold on, it's not funny. Okay? It's not funny at all. You see these. You know this is not going in here, okay? I called the customer service line. I said, ma'am, I got a problem with these jeans. Well, she immediately gave me attitude. She goes, sir, we've been getting a lot of calls about these jeans. They stretch. I said, oh, ma'am, no, I understand, but it's the wrong size. She goes, sir, they stretch. She said, just trust me. Just put them on and wait a while. They'll break in. And I said, oh, baby, bless your heart. If I put my body in this, there will be denim flying around the state for months to come, right? And so I can't fit in these, people, okay? I know this. I know this about myself, and I make fun of my son. My middle son loves skinny jeans, and so he was very excited, and he came down the steps one day like this. I said, boy, what is wrong with you? He goes, Dad, I'm trying to break in these jeans. I said, first of all, you need to take them off to save your kidneys because they're too tight. And you know jeans are too tight when you look at somebody's pocket and you can see they got 2 dimes, a nickel, and a quarter, okay? I said, boy, go take them things off. You're about to pass out, right? I can't fit in skinny jeans. Another thing I can't do is I can't whisper, people. We know this. But you have to know what you can and what you can't do. And I'm telling you all of this because we're aware of some things we can't do. I cannot sing. I can hum. That's about all I got, right? Everybody thinks with my voice I can sing. Can't sing, can't do it. But you've got some things you can't do as well. But one of the things that I don't want you to do is to believe other people's limitations on you. We have to be self-aware. And yes, there are some things that we can't do, but there are definitely more things that we can do. And building wealth is one of those things. You have the availability and the capacity to be able to do it. And we have to be careful because the culture, it will try to put limitations on us. The culture will try to make you think you can't do something, like the American dream is dead and gone, or you didn't go to the right school, or you don't make enough. All of these things are lies. And it's really important for us to understand this because we get to choose what we're gonna believe. And that is so very vital, especially as you continue this journey. If you don't, and you don't have a determination in your own head of what's true for you, you can start to allow other people's limitations to be put on you. And that can be with your family, it can be with your friends, and it can be with coworkers. So the beauty of it is we live in the greatest country on the planet, right? We can decide and start all in the same minute, but we have to be mindful of what it is we're chasing and why it matters to us. I travel all around the country speaking, and I was in an airport, and I was just sitting over there, I wasn't bothering anybody, and a guy ran up to me, he goes, "Hey, Hogan," he goes, "can I give you a hug?" First of all, I don't hug strange people. He goes, no, brother, I need to give you a hug. I said, sure, and he gave me a hug. He goes, "Hey, I'm one of your everyday millionaires." He said, "I've been working this plan for 12 years, and I'm there." He said, "I never, ever thought I would get there." He goes, "I'm so excited." He goes, "I just had to come tell you." And he said, "One more thing." He goes, "When you go back, will you give Dave a kiss for me?" I mean, this guy's getting fresh, right? I mean, he gave me a hug. Now he wants me to go kiss Dave. I was like, no, ain't gonna happen, right? I said, "You kiss him yourself when you see him," right? But he was so excited. And I saw it on his face. It was literally one of those moments where no one else had ever believed that he could. And what he was saying is this information not only penetrated his heart, it had changed his future. And that's what pure gratitude will do for you. And see, I've run into thousands of millionaires across the country, people that have been through Financial Peace University, people that are working this plan and staying very focused, not buying into the myths or the lies or even those limitations. And see, we have right now, most people don't know this, there are almost 11 million millionaires in America today. 11 million. And see, you don't hear about this because we have this victim mentality in our culture where we're looking to blame somebody instead of just owning it and getting our own results. We don't need anybody's permission. What we have to do is make a decision. And when we do that for ourselves, we can change things.
My story started out with me as a 16-year-old coming to the States from Iran. I had a couple of $1,000, didn't know anybody. I didn't speak the language. I was excited because it was a new place and there was a lot to explore. But at the same time, I found myself a lot of times just being scared. Just like, what do I do? I had no safety net. It was just like, I gotta make it. I've gotta make it. I was in the survival mode most of the time and trying to figure things out. Whatever money we made, we spent, and then some. We didn't even know that there was anything wrong with living paycheck to paycheck. When we started our FPU journey, that's when we began to really follow the baby steps. We paid off our debt, we increased our emergency fund into 3 to 6 months, and then we invested properly, and that really helped us. I mean, It's really amazing how fast compound effect takes effect.
It just happened one day that we looked, and we were like, we're millionaires. We're over that mark.
So our net worth at some point in the journey went over $1 million, and we continued to grow.
We did the largest study of millionaires across the country, talked to over 10,000 of them, and we dug in and got the real secrets about what they're doing. And I don't know if you're like me, I love to do internet research, and you ever run across one of those stories that tells you it's like the secret to becoming whatever, and you click that link and 30 minutes later, you're still clicking, you fall into a rabbit hole. Well, let me tell you this, without you having to click on a link or spend 25 minutes. The secret to you becoming an everyday millionaire is to believe that you can. And if you get that mindset and you adopt that, you'll start to understand that, hey, I'm in control. One of the most staggering stats out of our research, 97% of the millionaires that we studied said that they control their own destiny. Hear that. 97% of those millionaires said they control their own destiny. What that means is that they're not looking for an excuse. We're not looking to blame somebody because we did or didn't get there, right? And we have a victim mentality in our culture that we have to start to realize, hold on, I've got to take personal responsibility for where I am, but I'm also going to take personal responsibility for where I'm going. And if we don't put those roadblocks in front of us, we can get there. We live in a sowing and reaping world. 2 Corinthians says, whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whoever sows bountifully will reap bountifully. We have this opportunity. You see, you want to work like it depends on you, but you want to pray like it all depends on God. You have to have your mind and your heart in the right place. There's another scripture in Deuteronomy. It says, but remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you the ability to produce wealth. Now I want you to hear this, and I want to stop because we can glance by these scriptures and move on. It is he who gave you the ability to build wealth. You're that one person staring you in the mirror that you go, I have to not only make a decision today, but I have to keep making this decision. I'm not going to let myself give up. And when you do that, you'll change your thinking. I've seen people make changes. I had an opportunity about 12 years ago to sit down with a single mom. She was very intentional. Her goal was, she said she wanted to spend more time with her 2 sons and her grandsons. And she said, I've worked hard, but I need to get more intentional. And she wanted my help. And so we budgeted. We found money that she was losing. She was leaking money in restaurants and stores, and she was shopping out of habit. We helped her look at her investments differently because before this, to her 401k was just a place money went. When we sat down and we talked, I helped her to understand that 401k is where you replace your paycheck. That's how you get paid later. And she got connected with some investment professionals, people Dave and I trust. And I got to tell you all, I was proud of what she did. I was proud of her sacrifices because she was doing everything through the lens of her retirement dream. And she talked a lot about her boys and her grandbabies. And I was proud of the progress that she made because she made a turnaround. She got focused and intentional. And by the way, that lady has a name. It's called my mama. I got an opportunity to sit down with my mom, Mama Hogan, and show her this stuff that I've been living, to walk her through this process. And you gotta understand how proud I was to sit across from her and boss her around for once. Oh yeah, I got on her. I said, Mama, this budget's out of whack. She goes, boy, I will whack you. I said, yes, ma'am. But it was fun. And to see her make that turn, you all, and to see her have that lens of wanting to spend time with me and my brother, but also her grandkids, it was a proud moment. You see, as you set yourself up, you've got an opportunity, you can do some things. We've got the power to make some changes in our lives. But here's what you have to do first. First of all, you gotta clean up the mess. You gotta start to get serious about it and look at it, and you gotta learn how to budget. Every dollar will help you with that budgeting. When you budget, you give yourself a raise and you give yourself the ability and permission to be able to spend without regret. So we have to do that. Secondly, you've got to work the debt snowball. I mean, you have to. You've got to get your money back because right now you're helping to make other people rich and you need to be able to build your own wealth. So let's stop the leaking of your money going out. And then after you get out of debt, you need to build up that fully funded emergency fund. You need a safety net. Life can be a high wire. And so when you have that 3 to 6 months fully funded emergency fund, you're gonna breathe easier and you're gonna be more focused. I promise you. And then once you do that, now you're able to start to build wealth. And see, this process works. We've helped over 6 million people do this. So don't come at me with something, with an idea that's different. I'm not only teaching it, I've lived it. So I know what it can do. And so baby step number 4 is to invest 15% of your household income in retirement. That's the number, that's the process. And don't try to tweak it. I had a guy call in on my show, the Chris Hogan Show. He said, all right, Chris, he goes, I'm gonna tell you something. I've been doing the Dave Hogan-ish plan. I was like, the what? He goes, yeah, I've been doing the ish kind of thing. I was like, what do you mean ish? He goes, well, I attack some debt, then I go back into debt and I'm saving a little and I'm trying to invest. And I go, hold on a second. I said, what are one of your hobbies? He said, oh, I love to grill. I said, really? What's your favorite thing to grill? He said, steak. I go, you know what? Me too. Despite my appearance, you think I'm the world's largest vegan? No, I eat beef, people, okay? And I love it. And I said, well, you like steak and I like steak. I said, what if I said, come over to my house, I'm gonna feed you. And you ask me, what are you gonna feed me? And I say, I'm gonna feed you a steak-ish product. He goes, well, I'm not eating that. I go, exactly. I go, ish is a wish. And some of you out there have been dabbling in it, where, I'm doing it a little bit, but then I'm gonna start to do this or that. Listen to me, people. If the recipe ain't broke, don't try to fix it. Follow it. It leads you to somewhere better. If you want to live your dreams, you need to work a plan that's gonna get you there. I want you to be able to build wealth and become an outrageous giver. Every time you hear about a need in your community, I want you to put yourself in a position that you can stroke a check and not just say a prayer. And I know I've been there where I wished I could have helped more, but I had decided MasterCard and Visa and American Express were a priority in my life. And when you get those priorities clear, you put yourself in a position to be a blessing. But here's what's interesting. I don't care what income people are making. If you invest 15% of your income, year after year, time after time, you will be able to retire with dignity. And I need you to hear that. Because too many people will say, well, Chris, I need to wait until I'm making more. No, you don't. What you need to do is get started immediately and have this urgent mindset. I want to tell you another staggering stat from our millionaire research. 1/3 of the millionaires that we talked to never had a 6-figure household income in a single working year. 1/3 of them never had a 6-figure household income in a single working year. The thing that you can pass by is that household income. It meant 2 people were working outside of the home and they still didn't make 6 figures, but they still became millionaires. You see, it's not about your income. We have to be careful of those excuses that we use because they stand in the way of our progress. We've heard objections all the time. I hear it. People say, well, Chris, it's about your rate of return. It's about expense ratios. It's about da-da-da-da-da. No, it's not. It's about having a plan and not being deterred, being very, very focused and understand. 0% of the 10,000 millionaires that we studied say that they got to millionaire status because of high salaries, because of investments with crazy rates of return, or because of expense ratios. Don't get caught up in that financial gobbledygook. If you invest 15% over a period of time, you can become an everyday millionaire. And see, we gotta stop doing the half plans. Like, how many of you remember the Atkins diet? Raise your hand. Okay, you remember that? That's the diet where you can eat all the beef you want and cheese, but you can't have one potato chip, okay? I remember it was several years ago, I decided to do the Atkins diet. And I did it for, hold on, about 2 hours. 2 hours, as long as I could go. Okay, I lost my mind. Saw a bag of Doritos, lost my mind, right? Fell off the wagon. Don't laugh at me, people. You've fallen off the wagon on stuff, right? The crazy thing is that we look for these quick fads, these quick fixes, when we all know it's about lifestyle change. And as you start to deal with money more effectively, it's a paradigm shift. It's a lifestyle change. You see these things and you learn to be an adult enough to tell yourself no. And you say, you know what, I'm gonna wait and I'm gonna save up cash for this. I'm not gonna let myself get out of control. And see, I used to think that debt was my friend, and it's not. Compound interest is. You see, you can look at this, you can put money under a mattress, or you can invest it. And I'm gonna tell you, millionaires invest, okay? This is where you put compound interest to work for you. Your money is starting to make money. 79% of the millionaires said that they invested inside of a company plan. 74% of them said they invest outside of a company plan. What are you hearing here? Millionaires invest.
So you're probably out there saying, okay, Chris, I hear you. I know I need to invest, but where do I start? I know you hear a lot of information out there about investing, and it's a lot to take in. You hear terms like portfolio and diversification and 401ks and IRAs. And to be honest, it can all get a little confusing. But here's the thing. People in the financial industry like to use big words. They love sophisticated terminology to talk about pretty simple concepts. I think they use big words so they can charge you big money. We're going to talk about it in a way us regular people can actually understand it. Okay, let's dive right in. First, when you're looking at where to invest and where to start contributing money for retirement savings, I want you to use what are called tax advantage plans. That just means whether you're investing through a plan your company offers or on your own, your investments are protected from taxes. There are two types of tax advantage plans. You've got tax deferred plans and tax-free plans. Let's look at tax deferred plans first. The 401k, 403b, 457, and traditional IRA are tax-deferred plans. That means you'll defer taxes or put off paying taxes on the money in your plan until you retire. So, you're not taxed on the money you contribute right now, but you will pay income taxes on that money when you withdraw it in retirement. That's what we mean by tax-deferred, or these are sometimes called pre-tax plans. And don't get confused over all the numbers and letters you're hearing. The 401k, 403b, and 457 were simply named after sections of the tax code that authorize the plans. So if we were big-time nerds and we were to go to the IRS and we went into the tax code and went to section 401, subsection K, and pulled out the law, it simply says employers can allow their employees to save for retirement. That's all it means. So the 401k, 403b, and 457 are retirement plans you can get through your job. And if you talk to your company, you'll know which one might be available for you. You've probably heard of the 401k, but the 457 is for government employees and some nonprofits. And the 403b is for people who work in schools, hospitals, and religious organizations. If your company offers one of these plans, pay close attention to what I'm about to tell you next. Are you ready? You might have an opportunity for some free money. Yes, I said free. Cue the praise hands and the hallelujah chorus. A lot of companies offer what's called a match. That's where a company will match your contribution dollar for dollar up to a certain percentage. It's usually around 2 to 4%. That's free money, people. Now, I also mentioned something earlier called an IRA. That stands for Individual Retirement Arrangement, and it's one of those tax-deferred plans we've been talking about. The difference is that an IRA isn't connected to a company, so you're not going to find this through your job. But anyone with an earned income can open and contribute to a traditional IRA. Okay, that covers tax-deferred plans. But remember, I mentioned two types of plans. So what about the second one? I know you all heard me say those two magic words earlier, tax-free. And you're wondering, what's that all about? Anytime you see tax-free, I want you to thank Senator William Roth. You see, years ago, he developed the Taxpayer Relief Act of 1997, which put the Roth IRA right where it is today. You should love this man because Roth plans can play a huge role in you becoming an everyday millionaire. The Roth 401k, Roth 403b, Roth 457, and Roth IRA, basically anything with Roth in the name, are all tax-free plans. That means you pay income taxes on the money before you invest it. So you're investing with after-tax dollars. And this is great for two reasons. Number one, the money you invest grows tax-free. Number two, you won't owe any taxes when you withdraw the money in retirement. So if your account grows to $1 million or millions of dollars over time, you won't owe any taxes when it's time to use that money when you retire. So let's recap. Traditional plans like the 401k are tax-deferred or pre-tax, meaning you pay no taxes on the money you contribute, but you will pay taxes on the money when you withdraw in retirement. Match means free money, and Roth plans are tax-free, meaning you pay taxes before you invest the money, but you'll pay no taxes when you withdraw it later. So traditional means pre-tax, match means free money, and Roth means tax-free. I hope you're starting to see that you don't need a master's in finance to understand this stuff. It's information we all should have learned in school, but most of us were never taught. So now that you've learned about some of the retirement plans that might be available to you, we're going to talk through which plans are actually right for you. This doesn't have to be complicated, people. Your investing strategy should not be complicated at all. In fact, I'm going to give you a fun little phrase to remember when it comes to investing. Here it is. Match beats Roth, Roth beats traditional. Got it? Let me show you an example. Let's say you've got a 30-year-old couple. Together, they make $60,000 a year. They're on baby step number 4, so they invest 15% of that $60,000, which is $9,000 a year or $750 a month. And they do that every month from age 35 to 65 at 11% growth. Let's say they have a Roth 401k with a 3% match available to them, and they contributed their full 15% into the Roth 401k. They contribute after-tax dollars, and they get over $400,000 of free money from the company match. After 30 years of growth, the Roth 401k has $2.5 million in it. And guess how much they pay in taxes? Because they were investing with after-tax dollars. They only have to pay taxes on the match, which ends up being around $100,000. So after growth and taxes, they still have $2.4 million to retire on. We just looked at an example with a company match. So let's look at a Roth IRA. What if the couple invested 15% into a Roth IRA? Remember, this is a Roth, so they're investing with after-tax dollars. That means that after 30 years of tax-free growth, they ended up with $2.1 million. Let's take a look at the final example, a traditional 401k. With this plan, don't forget, they'll have to pay taxes on the money later. They contribute with pre-tax money, which means after 30 years of growth, they'd have over $2 million. But at age 65, when they're ready to start withdrawing the money, they'll pay over $500,000 in taxes. So after growth and taxes, they ended up with $1.5 million. Now, hold on a second. I just hit you with a lot of numbers, but did you notice something about their income? It's $60,000 a year. Can I just tell you, that's the average household income in America today. So this couple invested 15% of an average household income, and in 30 years never invested any more than 15%, and they never got a raise. But in all 3 of the examples, what happened? They became everyday millionaires. See, this is what I want you to understand. It's about getting started early and remaining consistent. You can do this. You just need to stay focused. Now, if your company offers a Roth 401k with a match and good mutual fund options like you saw in the first example, that's your gold star option. That's the best of the best. So you can put all 15% of your gross income right there and be done. But let's say your company doesn't have a Roth 401k with a match, but they do have a traditional 401k with a match. Remember, match beats Roth, Roth beats traditional. So here's what you do. Contribute up to the company match. So if your company will match 3%, then you'll contribute 3%. But now what? You still have 12% of the 15% left to invest. That's where you would go over to the Roth IRA. Since there's a contribution limit on the Roth IRA, you'll invest up to the maximum amount. Some of you won't hit that limit, and you can finish your investing in the Roth IRA. If you have a higher income, you'd hit the limit before you get to the 12%. Where do you invest the remainder of your full 15% then? Remember, match beats Roth. Roth beats traditional. You've invested up to the match. You've invested up to the max amount in the Roth. So now I want you to go back to your company's traditional 401k and finish the 15% right there. When you invest 15% of your income, you can build wealth over time. You can retire with dignity, and you can change your family tree. What I want you to believe is that it's possible. You need to take the right steps at the right time with the right plan. When you do this, you can become an everyday millionaire.
When you really want to make something big happen in your life, don't judge whether you're going to be successful or not by your starting point or by how you feel as you come across these barriers. We had no information. We had no financial, acumen we came from really, really modest means. I mean, we did not have a lot of money. We didn't have any money. When we first started, when we got married, it was paycheck to paycheck, and it was a very small paycheck, by the way. So we had to overcome a lot of challenges, but I think the one thing that really worked for us was, again, I credit Connie for this because she had this vision. It's like, look, it's happening for these other people. It can happen for us. You know, if I'm talking to someone out there who today is looking at our video and saying, oh, sure, you guys live in this big house, you got nice jobs, you love your career, I wish I was like that. If I was like that, yeah, I could be out of debt. Well, you know what? It doesn't work that way. It's not like, okay, well, one day when I have a great job, when I make a lot of money and I know a lot, that's when I get started on the journey. No, you get started because you believe. You start developing this faith that it is possible for you. If it's possible for us, it's possible for anybody out there to get on this journey and take the baby steps. Before you know it, it's like you don't have to get to the end of that journey to feel like, yeah, we've made it. Before we had the $1 million in the bank, before our house was paid off, it's like, yes, it can happen for us. This is not wasted effort. We can do this. We can learn here. We can put some money aside. We can save. We can invest. We can give because we were hopeful about a brighter future. You just got to get started.
Yeah. So I invest personally in two things: real estate that I pay cash for, and in the stock market, but only in mutual funds. I do not invest in single stocks. I do not have to compare with my golfing buddy who has a stock market story to match his golf story, to match his fishing story, all of which are lies. The bottom line is I studied wealthy people, and I said, what do they do? On average, they use mutual funds, like Chris was just teaching you, in their retirement plan in order to build wealth. And it is the number one thing we found in 10,000 Everyday Millionaires. So for your first $5 million, you can keep it pretty simple and just stay with mutual funds inside of your retirement strategy. That's the thing. A mutual fund allows investors to pool their money together to invest. So what is a mutual fund? Well, this is how a mutual fund works. It's a pretty simple thing. Okay, let's pretend this guy over here puts some money in, and this lady right here puts some money in, and this guy puts some money in, and this lady puts some money in, and this guy puts some money in, and this guy puts some money in, and this guy over here, he puts a bunch of money in, and then I'm dropping money, so I'm one of those managers. But so you put the money into the mutual fund, and then the manager of the mutual fund, the team that runs the mutual fund, buys stuff after you have mutually funded it. It's called a mutual fund. That's what it is, okay? And so you mutually funded it, and then if I'm the manager, I buy stuff with it, and what I buy tells us the type of fund that you have chosen to invest in. Were I to buy bonds, then we would call this a bond, say it with me, mutual fund. Okay? If I were to buy stocks in companies that are overseas or foreign companies, they make things like Dove soap or Q-tips or Slim Fast or Lipton tea or Ben & Jerry's. These are all foreign companies, certainly American brands. We certainly consume all of those products, but they're not U.S. companies. If I were to buy stock in the company that make those products, I would be buying stock in foreign companies or international stocks. And then we might call this an international stock mutual fund. We mutually funded, we bought stocks that were international. And that's what it means. And so oftentimes the name of the mutual fund will tell you what's going on inside of it, even before you start reading about it and learning about what you're getting ready to put money in with a bunch of other people mutually. So if you were to buy stock in companies that are growing, we might call those stocks growth stocks, which would make this a growth stock mutual fund. Have you ever heard that? That's all it is. And so if I buy stock in companies like maybe Microsoft, and maybe I buy stock in something like Costco, right? and maybe I buy stock in something maybe like Amazon, and maybe I buy stock in something like Home Depot. Maybe I don't like that one, And so I pick the ones that I think are gonna go up in value, and I've got 90 to 200 stocks in companies that are growing. Then that is a growth stock mutual fund, and that is a thing we wanna look at and consider using for our investments. Now, there's a lot of opinions out there flying around, and there's a lot of facts out there flying around. Now, not all growth stock mutual funds outperform the stock market. As a matter of fact, over half do not. But there are around 40% of them that do outperform the stock market, meaning the manager picked a mix of companies that did better than the overall stock market. So if the stock market did this might do just a little bit better. It's not gonna do double, it's not gonna do something like that, but you can pick funds that have outperformed the S&P 500 or outperformed the stock market. Now, what happens is this group of stocks, the Amazons and the Microsofts and so forth, go up in value. Some of them will go down, some of them will go up, some of them will go sideways, but overall, you pick more winners than losers. The group goes up in value, so your share that you mutually funded goes up in value, and that's where your return comes. It's not an interest rate technically, it is a growth rate. So this group of stocks is growing and you own a piece of it. Your return comes when the value of the fund increases. These are horrible investments for the short term because the stock market's crazier than crud on the short term. You don't know what it's gonna do. The president might burp. And all of a sudden it'll go, wee, right? And you're watching the news and you're going, ah, right? And so they're horrible investments on the short term because they're just volatile. The stock market's volatile. But on the long term, you can look at a long-term track record. What has basically the American economy done over the long term? What are our best and brightest companies done over the long term? Don't you wish you had bought Microsoft in 1974? Hello. Don't you wish you had bought Home Depot back in the day, right? Hello. So over time, but were there times that any individual stock or groups of stocks went up and down? You bet. Long-term investments. Do not buy this unless you're gonna leave it alone at least 5 years. Don't buy mutual funds unless you're gonna leave them alone at least 5 years. Leave the mutual fund alone at least that long. It's a marathon. It is not a sprint. Now, your 401k or your IRA are not investments. Say not investments. Your 401k or your IRA are what protect your investments. The actual investment we recommend inside your 401k, inside your IRA, and that I personally do in my personal 401k is mutual funds. That's what's inside of my 401k. So if you visualize it a little bit like grandma's cookie jar, right? Okay, the 401k or the IRA is the protection for the cookies. The cookies are the investment. And we have already established that I like cookies. So we're gonna take the investment, that's the mutual funds, and put it in here and it protects it. Nice vacuum seal, right? Stays fresh, protects it from taxes. If it's Roth, it's tax-free. You might get a match on it. Grandma might add a cookie, right? Whatever. But the bottom line is your 401k is not an investment. So it's improper for you to say, my 401k is not doing well. The actual way you would say that if you wanted to prove to people you understand what's going on is you say, the mutual funds in my 401k aren't doing well. Or my 401k is going big time. My IRA is going big time. Or I've got it over at the bank and it sucks, right? And you go, no, your IRA doesn't suck. It's just the jar. The jar hadn't got anything to do with it. It's the cookies that aren't good or that are good. So you would say the investment inside of my retirement plan is not doing well or is doing well. So that's what you're looking for. You're looking for that protection. That's what Chris was talking about. And then you take these mutual funds and you start investing them. Now, the beauty of the mutual fund is you're diversifying. When you put all your money in one thing, if that one thing goes bad, you go bad with it. And so if you bought only your company stock, if you have a publicly traded company you work for, and you had this big pile of company stock and then your company went broke, you're broke with them because you bet the entire thing on one horse race. Don't do that. Don't do that. Spread your investments around. Spreading them around is called diversification. Spreading it around gives you lower risk. Diversification lowers risk. It means you're spreading your money around. And this is in the Bible. In Ecclesiastes, it says, spread your portions to 7, yes, to 8, for disaster may come upon the land. Don't put all your money in one place. There's a recession coming. Maybe not, maybe so. I don't know. That's not the point. The point is we're not going to have it all in one company, and then that company misbehaves or something happens, and then we go broke. So you spread it around, and by the nature of the mutual fund, you're in 90 to 200 different stocks, which gives you safety, way more safety than a single stock investment. And so that's what you're looking at. That's how you invest it long term. Now, diversity, what we want to do is we want to diversify our diversification, because money is like manure. Money left in one pile, just like manure, begins to stink. But spread out, it grows things. So that's diversification. You always spread it out. Now, I take the 90 to 200 stocks in a mutual fund, and then I take that times 4 because I do 4 different kinds of mutual funds. So now I've diversified my diversification. I've spread out my spreading out. So I'm really spread out. That's what we're doing here. So what we do is we put 25% in growth and income. That's what I personally do. Now, growth and income stock mutual fund is the big dogs. It's the huge companies, the multi-billion-dollar companies. They're really boring. This is like the oldest child that never misbehaves. That's the rule keeper, right? This is they don't outperform the market. They often underperform the market, but they're really stable and dependable. And you want that for part of your portfolio, part of your mix. I put 25% then in growth stock mutual funds. They're different than growth and income. Again, growth and income's huge companies. Sometimes they're called large cap. Cap means capitalization, and so capitalization means large company, the amount of money they have. So it's a $10 billion, a $20 billion company. Big old companies are the large caps. They're also called blue chip companies, the large caps are sometimes, because the blue chip on the poker table is the most expensive chip. And so this is the big ones. The middle one is a growth stock mutual fund, or sometimes called a mid cap. Sometimes your S&P 500 funds will fall in that inside your 401k selections. You might not have a good growth stock mutual fund in there to pick from, but you got an S&P 500. It's the same thing. They're right there in the middle. It's about what the market's going to do, a little better than the market's going to do if you select something that's outperformed the S&P. They're really up, they're really down, they're all over the place. That's how it works. The next one I put a fourth into is aggressive growth. Now, this is the wild child of the family. Okay, aggressive growth, sometimes called emerging markets, and as you might guess, these are smaller companies, so sometimes they're called small cap companies. And so this is the wild child. It's going all over the place. It's a smaller company, it's initial public offerings, it's tech, it's healthcare, it's stuff that's volatile. And you're gonna make a bunch on it, or you're gonna lose a bunch on it. It's seldom gonna be anything but wild. And so you got the wild child, you got the stable child, right? You got the middle child who's just kind of, well, that's usually the wild child. But anyway, you got the one in the middle that's kind of just right, like Goldilocks porridge, right? Just right, the right temperature. And then we'll add the exchange student. Let's do some international, okay? So we want some international in there. Now, out of these 4 in the past couple of decades, this is the one that has underperformed the others. But it's overdue. So be watching in the coming few decades. It'll probably outperform because the waves of the market, the historical movement of the market indicates that that's about where we are. I almost pulled this out a while back, and then I looked at it and we did some detailed analysis on the historical data, and I personally left mine in, and I don't suggest to other people to do with money what I'm not doing, okay? And so you do what you want to do, but I've got it broken out into these 4. Some of it's international so that you get the BMWs and the Mercedes of the world. You get the overseas companies that are doing great work and making a lot of money in a lot of cases, and you can benefit from those. But you watch this stuff and you can see this diversification across these categories. So now we're in 90 to 200 each, except for overlap. We're at about 800 different stocks here. That's a lot. And so you're spread out really wide, and that gives you a lot of safety, as much safety as you can possibly have in this situation. Again, this is what I do with my personal 401k. So you want to include these funds all the way around. Now, if your brain's a little bit scrambled right now, I completely understand. Here's a couple things to remember no matter what. Never borrow on your retirement plan. Now, to start with, Dave Ramsey tells you never borrow. Okay, so that's easy. But why not borrow on your 401k? Because, Dave, I can borrow my own money and pay myself 5% or 6%. Yeah, but you unplugged a good mutual fund that was making 10, 11, 12% or more. So you're losing that rate of return at a minimum. And you're paying yourself interest, which is backwards. You're just gotten confused here. You're a dog chasing its tail mathematically. So the other thing, though, is this is the big problem with it. When you leave your company, and you will leave your company, you will leave your company when you die, when they fire you, or when you get a better job and quit. One of these things will happen when you leave your company. If the loan is not repaid in full, it is considered within 60 days an early withdrawal on your 401k, which means they're going to hit you with your tax rate plus a 10% penalty. At the very moment that you lost your job, you have to come up with $20,000 to put your 401k money back, or the government's going to tag you in the chin for around $8,000 out of that 20. And you're borrowing money at 40% interest all of a sudden at the worst possible moment. Never borrow on your 401k. Never borrow on your, don't get desperate enough to borrow on your 401k. And if it's in your debt snowball, just put it in your debt snowball, clean it up. We've all done stupid stuff. I'm the king of stupid. That's what qualifies me to teach this. And the second thing is never invest money in things you don't understand. Don't put money in things you don't understand. Don't put money in something because Dave Ramsey said to, Chris Hogan said to, or because one of our Smart Investor pros said to, or because anybody else said to. That's when you're going to lose it. And that's when you're going to go into freak out mode and stay there. When you invest money in something because somebody talked you into it and you don't understand it, you're going to be in freak out mode all the time, and you're probably going to lose your money. Hogan and I both do a little work with the NFL where we're working with these young guys coming into the National Football League, and we try to explain to them that the NFL stands for not for long. The average NFL career is 3.2 years. And we had the opportunity to sit down with a young man a little while back. Came in and he's 30 years old, and he and his cute little wife, and he'd been out of the league for 2 years, and he hollered at Hogan. He'd met him at one of the events we did, and Hogan said, you got to meet this guy, and he was a big football star guy. You'd know his name. And he came in and sat down in the conference room for about 10 minutes, and he like, guys, I'm so ashamed. And I'm like, oh no, here's another story of an athlete losing all his money and made tens of millions of dollars, right? And he said, I'm so ashamed. I said, what'd you do? And he goes, well, y'all are going to kill me. Well, I'm not going to kill you. What'd you do, man? How can we help? What happened? And he goes, well, I'm just a horrible investor. I said, well, what'd you do? And he said, well, I put all my money in a savings account in the bank. It makes no money. I said, how much money is in your savings account? 32 million. And he's ashamed. And I'm like, touchdown. You put money in something you understood, and you didn't, like all these goobers you play with, gave it to some manager, some agent who lost it for them. Meanwhile, you kept it safe and put it in something you understood. Yeah, you can do better with it, but touchdown, baby. You're 32 million ahead. We're okay with this. Don't put money in something you don't understand, and you'll get to keep it. Now, in his case, and in your case, we're going to teach you about mutual funds, paid for real estate. We're going to move some of that money and get it actually working more than 1%, right? But nothing to be ashamed of. That's something to be proud of, because in the culture of the athletes, the professional athletes that he's a part of, they all, I got me a man, which is code for, I'm going to be broke in 3 years, right? Instead of you taking care of your own money. You manage your money. It's your money. God gave it to you to manage. Understand it or don't do it. The Bible says, where there is no counsel, the people fall, but in the multitude of counsel, there's safety. And that's why I put an investment person in my corner. I know a lot about investments. I'm an investment expert. I have probably caused, with our teaching, more millionaires and multimillionaires to occur than anywhere else, and yet people go, oh, don't listen to Dave Ramsey for his investment advice. Yeah, don't do that. I've only created tens of millions of millionaires. It's just ridiculous. So don't do that for sure. But the whole thing is, go sit down with someone like a good SmartVestor Pro who will teach you with the heart of a teacher so you understand what you're investing in. And then as the market moves up and down, you got someone to spar with and to go back and forth with to learn from. I do that personally as well. This is a long-term play, guys. It's a long-term play. I sat down with a billionaire a while back, which I always like to meet billionaires because I want to be one. And I said, how can I be a billionaire? And he said, you need to read this book. I said, what's the book? Because I love books. He said, have you ever read The Tortoise and the Hare? And I said, you're kidding me. I'm meeting with a billionaire. You're giving me an Aesop's fable? Seriously? He goes, you ever read The Tortoise and the Hare? I said, yeah. He goes, I read it all the time. I read it to my kids. I read it to my grandkids. Now I read it to my great-grandkids. And he goes, you know why I read it to them over and over and over? Because every time I read the book, the tortoise wins. Slow and steady wins the race. Not, I look cool, look at me, look at me. No, slow and steady. It's okay to be ugly. Slow and steady, slow and steady. You don't have to be flashy and sexy. Slow and steady. You don't have to be impressive. Slow and steady. And this is how you build wealth over the time. And you have to really go do it. That's the other thing. As we talk to these millionaires in the millionaire study that we did, 83% of millionaires say the way they became millionaires was that they saved money. Really? How'd the other 17% do it? I don't know. They said saving money contributed to their net worth. Well, no kidding. That's an incredible piece of research right there, right? But no kidding. But you know what? People think that's not it. They think there's a lightning strike, that it's a random thing, and you have to be born with wealth and all these other things. But the way these millionaires became millionaires is 8 out of 10 of them, almost 9 out of 10 of them, said they invested steadily, and that's how they did it. The American Society of Pension Professionals and Actuaries, which is a society full of nerds, did a full set of research that found that 74% of the reason that people build wealth is what's called savings rate. And that is not the rate of return, that is the percentage of your income that you continually invest. Your rate of investing, your savings rate. The savings rate, we suggest 15% at baby step 4, right? Savings rate. All these people we studied, none of them went, oh, you know, this is expense ratios. And, oh, we got a 0.2% greater rate of return because we analyzed 43,000 mutual funds and I got the corner on the thing, and none of them had a secret. A lot of them had kind of ignored returns to their own detriment. A lot of them completely ignored expense ratios. The vast majority, they just steadily invested a lot of their income forever, and they look up and they've got $2 million, $3 million, $5 million, $1 million, whatever it is to retire on, and they're there. It's that simple. Proverbs says, lazy hands make for poverty, but diligent hands bring wealth. The diligent prosper. Diligence is excellence over time. That's what diligence is. The diligent prosper. I wish I could tell you there was a secret and only Dave Ramsey had it, but it seems to be widely known that it's not a secret. If you save money and if you invest money, you'll have some. This is why I get the big bucks right here. Hey folks, here's the thing. We know you can do this. We fully expect you to do this. And we're gonna stand beside you when you do it and yell, touchdown.
So what's the truth? How do you build wealth? There are so many myths out there about what it takes to become wealthy, how to become a millionaire. And I know you've heard them. You've probably even thought some of these yourself. You know, like it takes a huge 6-figure income, or that you have to take on risky investments, or that you have to be lucky or receive a big inheritance. but none of those are true. You see, in reality, it's everyday people with average incomes who are investing in the things that we teach the way that we teach. It's not an accident. You see, these people are focused, they're disciplined, and they choose to make their money work for them. They know that building wealth requires consistency over time. Well, here's the good news. We can all choose to do this. You see, when you live on a budget, you tell your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. When you get intense and you pay off all your debt, you give yourself a raise. And when you have an emergency fund, you're prepared for whatever comes your way. See, you're starting to experience freedom. And your money is now free to start working for you so you can invest for your family and yourself and your future. I want you to hear me. You can do this. You can become an everyday millionaire. I'm telling you. Now, in the next lesson, we're going to be talking all about real estate and mortgages. You know it. Your home is your largest monetary asset. So you want to make sure you're taking the right steps at the right time. You see, I want your home to be a blessing, not a burden. So you need the right information and the right timing. So we're going to help you and we're going to guide you through this process. Now it's time for your 1-minute takeaway. Write down one thing you'll do this week because of what you just learned.